Ah, yo, my brethren, and yea, if you should go to the movies, you will see vampires. Hey, guys, just gonna do one of these quick post-viewing thoughts on a recent flick that I saw today. It's kind of, let me back up here a little bit and tell you that down here in the South, it was freezing cold there for a while, and not getting above freezing level at all for like weeks or something. This weekend, starting with yesterday and on into today especially, it's up in the 50, it's like mid-50s right now, so no coat today, just sweatshirted and go to the flicks. So I just got to looking around on the internet, see what the local theater had, and I'd about forgotten about this one getting a release recently. It's the vampire action horror flick Daybreakers. And as always, these little post-viewing thoughts videos are a little bit more challenging in my opinion to do than maybe say a full-fledged movie review or this Blu-ray vlog I've been starting. My little routine that I do with the movies. Mainly because you can't just sit, put it on pause, study it as you go, and look at it real closely. It's sort of like when you go to the movies and you come back and try to talk about a video or a movie for it rather. It's kind of like a snapshot. It's like you just looked at a photograph at a museum and you're coming back talking about it. You didn't have time to really study it, so bear with me on this. Got my coffee here. I'm going to try to get a little perk in a little pep in my step here. Daybreakers. Daybreakers, let's go over the story here. The story was pretty, I'll go ahead and say it. I liked it better than I did the Underworld movies. I've only watched a couple of those, but and it's kind of in the vein of Blade, kind of the first Blade movie and a couple other movies like that. It even kind of looks like those movies, the Blade movies. It's kind of strange, but anyway, Daybreakers settles around the story of the character that Ethan Hawke plays. He's a hematologist, which in layman's terms I figured out is a blood doctor. I kind of knew that, but I wanted to make sure, so I studied up on it a little bit. He's a hematologist for the vampire population of the world. Apparently, it gives you a little brief snippets in the first little part of the movie that vampires have basically taken over the world, and they use us humans as they farm us like a blood supply, and these big pharmaceutical companies where they have us all hooked up to machines and things like that. This is going to be let me just start to say, this is going to be very spoiler laden, so if you don't want to watch this, I'll understand. But come back later and let me know your thoughts. Basically, we're being farmed for blood, and there's these little resistances of little human gatherings of resistance that are talked about in the first part of the movie. But during the first act, you're kind of learning that there's an epidemic happening within the vampire blood community, or blood shortage, basically. And when vampires don't get blood over time, they turn into like these primal creatures, basically. They start just morphing into these, or degrading into these bat-like creatures, where supposedly the vampire epidemic originated was with a vampire bat bite from years ago or something like that. See, that's part of the problem with this. I have to see the DVD and get the behind the scenes to really fill you in on it, guys. But my thoughts about the story is pretty decent. I mean, you got your standard action fare in between sprinkled out through the movie, but it's not action laden. They don't shove it down your throat too much. They do kind of towards the end, but it's not real bad. It's got kind of Blade style action in it. It's a lot of, surprisingly enough, there's a lot of prosthetic effects in the movie, a lot of blood work in there. But as all modern movies, you are going to have some CGI blood. It's not something you need to be afraid of. It's not a CGI blood fest. It's done decently. It's done in shadow most of the time, and it's not really bad. So don't expect it to be overflowing. There is a lot of blood towards the finale, but it's a lot of mixed in. It's a lot of prosthetic and CGI at the same time. So it's not overly used, I didn't think. A good balance, basically. Had great production value behind it. You can tell there's some money on the screen. I'm not going to say it, by far it's not my favorite vampire movie. It's just something to watch, and I think I was in the mood today to just be entertained. I'll probably get it when it comes out on DVD and give it another viewing just to kind of draw my real conclusion on it. But for a matinee, it didn't cost me as much, and it was something to do on a little break in the weather here, so go out, try it out. The rest of the story goes, I don't want to give too awful much away, but the vampires are searching for a blood substitute, and the humans are searching for a cure. And somewhere they're going to try to meet in the middle towards the end of the movie, but that's where you're really going to have to go see it for yourselves. That I don't want to give away the ending. I will tell you there's probably sequel potential, as with all these money-making movies. So I don't know whether to tell you there's going to be another one. If it makes any money, there'll be another one. I'll just say it that way. But overall, not the worst vampire movie. It's got some cool characters in the movie. I'm usually a real big fan of Willem Dafoe. He's more or less, he's a good supporting character in this movie. He's kind of like, you don't want to call him comic relief, but he's kind of like he's just an all-purpose vampire hunter type helper kind of guy. He's the guy that fills in the gaps between all the serious stuff in the movie, and I don't know, his character is a little more colorful. Ethan Hawke plays a good role. Everybody's playing pretty good roles. There's some unknown actors in there that play pretty decent roles too as well, I thought. Sam Neill is in the movie, and I know usually the camps are divided. Either you like Sam Neill or you don't. I personally like some of the stuff he's done, not everything that he's done. He's kind of in a subdued role. He's not in it. They don't shove him down your throat all the time. Pardon me. He's probably in it in a support. He's just a good, strong supporting character. He kind of adds another layer to the supporting character. He plays one of the business corporate. He's like the head business corporate vampire guy. So he's kind of subdued. He's not a real out and out vampire role or anything. So, but there again, the subsiders, as they call them, the creatures that the vampires turn into if they're deprived of blood, the primal, they lose all the reasoning powers and everything. They look real bat-like, and it's kind of slight ripping off Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola. That bat look in that movie, not a lot, but it's similar to that kind of setup, the way the bat wings are done and everything. But it's done well, and the money's on the screen. So if you're looking for something different, especially in this kind of movie wasteland time frame that we're in, right before we get to the early spring new movies that come out and hit us during after one right after another during the summertime. If you're looking for something kind of horror related, it's not bad, it's not great, but it's a good ride. So check it out if you want to. It's Daybreakers. Hopefully, if we get a special edition DVD, it'll fill in a couple of little plot holes I saw along the way. They're nothing major, nothing you're really going to pick up on unless you're just looking for them. But I'll tell you, just for example, they're searching for a cure, of course, and they figured out if they can control UV burning on the body, it kind of kickstarts your hearts, basically. Willem Dafoe's character is an ex-vampire, and he has a lot of scarring from his accidental UV exposure or sunlight exposure, and it's sort of like scars from that accident or whatever. Well, Ethan Hawke does a more regulated experiment because like I said, he's sort of like a scientist, hematologist guy, and he goes through about the same procedure, the same burning, but he has little to no scars that I could see on his body, and he gets burnt like completely up, I think, just the whole main torso. So there's little gaps in there. Don't think about it too hard. I mean, I think I'm overanalyzing it a little bit too much, but that's the fun of the movie. If you get one that makes you talk about it, makes you think about it, usually that tells me it's not that bad of a movie. So go try it out. You might like it, you might not, but draw your own conclusions. Leave your comments below on Daybreakers. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon.